Deep within the rugged heart of Siberia, beneath a heavy, overcast morning sky, lies an ancient giant. This is Lake Baikal, the oldest, deepest, and most voluminous freshwater reservoir on our planet, forming a profoundly unique freshwater ecosystem. Its waters hold 1/5 of all the liquid freshwater on Earth. When we envision a thriving aquatic biome, our minds often drift to the crystal-clear channels and sprawling floodplains of the Okavango Delta in Botswana during the dry season. We picture the majestic African elephant wading through dense papyrus reed beds, the aggressive territorial display of a hippopotamus, or the lurking presence of a Nile crocodile in the fierce tigerfish. But here, locked in ice during the treacherous spring melt, life demands a completely different kind of resilience. A biting mist rolls relentlessly across a vast expanse of fractured surface ice. At this early hour, the frozen landscape feels devoid of warmth, dominated by the relentless howling of the bitter wind. Out on the open ice, deep fractures groan and crack beneath the pressure, sending long echoes rolling across the frozen expanse. Along the snow-dusted shoreline, the daily cycle begins with cautious movement. A solitary red fox trots delicately across the freezing stones, her thick winter coat glowing like an ember against the pale ice. Above her, perched like a stone sentinel, a massive white-tailed eagle scans the endless horizon, watching for the first careless movement below. As the mist thins, the freezing waters at the ice edge reveal their undisputed master. Breaking the surface tension with a sharp exhalation, a Nerpa seal emerges gracefully into the frigid air. This remarkable creature is the only exclusively freshwater seal on Earth. Its large, dark eyes study the world above with calm curiosity. Nearby, a flock of vibrant Baikal teal ducks gently preen their waterproof feathers, sealing in the warmth they will need to survive the day. Beneath the fractured ice sheet, an entirely different physical realm awakens. Here, sheltered from the wind above, the water is impossibly clear and utterly silent. The icy freshwater depths plunge downward into an abyssal drop-off, creating a pressurized aquatic cosmos. Down in the faint twilight of the rocky lake floor, an ancient leviathan begins to stir. The Baikal sturgeon, a prehistoric, heavily armored giant, sweeps its massive tail, cruising effortlessly over the cold, sandy patches of the benthic zone. This species has patrolled these depths, almost unchanged, for millions of years. Above it, an agile European otter gracefully twists through the freezing currents, initiating its demanding morning hunt.
By mid-morning, precisely around 7:45, the diffused daylight penetrates much deeper into the water column. The ancient lake is now fully awake, buzzing with high-energy activity. The intricate food web of Lake Baikal is a flawless masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, showcasing an unparalleled biodiversity built entirely upon the very smallest of biological foundations. Drifting passively in the vast freshwater expanse are billions of microscopic copepods known as Epischura baikalensis. These tiny organisms are the silent, tireless biological engines of the lake. Day and night, they filter countless liters of water, straining out algae and bacteria, the quiet workforce behind Baikal's legendary clarity. Riding the gentle downward currents, an immense, synchronized school of silver omelfish navigates the deep aquatic expanse. They move as a unified superorganism, their thousands of synchronously beating fins creating a low hydrodynamic hum. Found nowhere else on Earth, the omel is the signature fish of Baikal, sustaining lakeside communities for generations. Far below them, towering colonies of bright green Baikal sponges stand rigidly against the deep currents. These living towers grow with extraordinary slowness, some taking centuries to reach their present height, offering shelter to countless smaller creatures. Crawling meticulously over the textured sponge surfaces is the giant amphipod, a heavy-duty armored scavenger of the lake floor, recycling organic matter with its highly articulated limbs. It is one of more than 300 amphipod species found only in this lake, an entire dynasty of scavengers shaped by isolation. Back on the rugged shoreline, the brightening overcast sky brings a vital increase in ambient temperature. A resilient herring gull settles on a jagged ice chunk, while an agile sable descends headfirst down the bark of an ancient pine tree. Its dark, luxurious fur ripples as it slips between the roots, hunting for anything the morning has left unguarded. Out on the partially frozen surface, a black-throated diver bird meticulously waterproofs its feathers. Much like an African fish eagle soaring above a grazing red leechwee in warmer climates, the avian hunters here command their environment with absolute authority. Along the rocky beaches, a massive brown bear lumbers heavily through the rapidly melting snowdrifts, a relentless pursuit of calories before the muted Siberian sun retreats. Freshly emerged from its long winter sleep, it has months of lost weight to recover, and the thawing shoreline is its richest hunting ground. As the clock approaches 11:30, midday arrives, and the flat, natural light casts a shadowless wash over the vast taiga and the frozen lake. A tranquil stillness settles heavily over the harsh biome. The overcast sky presses low against the treetops, and even the wind seems reluctant to disturb the silence. Far out from shore, the ice sheet lies pale and unmoving, stretching toward a horizon without edges. This is a crucial, biologically mandated period of energy conservation. The intense, frigid morning winds slowly subside, and the diverse inhabitants of Baikal collectively embrace a temporary state of deep terrestrial and aquatic lethargy. Beneath the gnarled roots of a massive shoreline pine, the red fox curls tightly into a perfect sphere. Her thick tail wraps across her nose like a scarf, trapping every precious degree of warmth for the long wait ahead. High on a smooth boulder, the elusive phantom of the taiga reveals itself in rest. A Eurasian lynx lies flat against the cold stone, its spotted fur blending perfectly into the dusty winter tones. Only the occasional twitch of its black-tipped ears betrays that the hunter is not truly asleep, merely waiting. Even the towering brown bear sprawls out heavily on the smooth shoreline rocks. Its massive chest rises and falls in a slow, unhurried rhythm, storing strength for the demands of the melting season. It is a fascinating moment of shared vulnerability among the heavily armed terrestrial apex predators. In this harsh landscape, every apex predator must eventually bow to the exhaustion of the environment. In the freezing, highly pressurized depths, the midday lull is equally profound. The colossal sturgeon settles heavily onto the deep white sand, slowing its rhythmic breathing. Hovering just above the bottom, it becomes almost invisible, a shadow resting among shadows in the endless blue gloom. Within the narrow crevices of the underwater rock walls, a mottled burbot coils its serpentine body tightly into the deepest shadows. This cold-loving predator thrives where others cannot, patient and motionless until darkness calls it back to the hunt. Even the highly active seal finds a moment of absolute rest, floating effortlessly upside down directly beneath the thick surface ice sheet. Suspended in weightless calm, it can remain like this for many minutes at a time, rising only briefly to breathe before drifting back into stillness. The frictionless icy ceiling serves as a cold canopy as the seal closes its dark eyes, entering a trance-like state of deep aquatic rest, perfectly adapted to the crushing cold and the extreme demands of sub-zero survival. However, peace and stillness are always fleeting concepts in the Siberian wilderness. By mid-afternoon, around 2:30, the diffused light begins to steadily fade, taking on warm, muted earth tones that bleed softly through the thick, overcast sky. The ambient temperature drops sharply, and the ecosystem is thrust back into a state of high alert. Across the taiga, shadows lengthen between the pines, and every sound carries farther in the cooling air. The driving biological necessity of the hunt quickly overrides the temporary desire for rest. In the shallow shoreline reeds, the heavy northern pike subtly shifts its massive weight. It is a creature of terrifying kinetic potential. When an unsuspecting Arctic grayling drifts just a fraction too close, the pike explodes forward with immense speed. On land, the red fox awakens and accelerates its shoreline search, hunting for hidden sustenance before the truly lethal cold of the Siberian night fully sets in. Her ears swivel toward every rustle beneath the snow, triangulating the movements of hidden rodents with remarkable precision. Out in the open water column, the European otter initiates a frantic high-speed chase, diving in tight descending spirals to pursue the highly evasive omul schools. These endemic species are the lifeblood of the lake, and the clear water instantly becomes a chaotic theater of fluid dynamics, predator and prey engaged in a relentless dance of absolute survival. Twisting and rolling, the otter matches every evasive turn, a stream of silver bubbles tracing its path through the freezing water. The seal, too, awakens fully from its brief slumber, preparing its body for a far more demanding descent into the darkening abyss. Its powerful lungs expand, loading oxygen for a dive that may last far longer than any human could endure. As the afternoon light dims even further, moving past 5 o'clock, millions of microscopic copepods begin an incredible journey. Driven by deeply ingrained ancient circadian rhythms, they commence a massive synchronized vertical migration upward, drawing the complex interdependent biodiversity up toward the surface with them. At 5:15, a soft, dusty twilight finally descends. The atmospheric temperature plummets so rapidly that a new, fragile layer of crystalline frost can actually be heard crackling as it forms rapidly over the open meltwater. The terrestrial mammals retreat quietly to the safety of the dark, dense taiga tree line, completely abandoning the desolate shoreline to the true aquatic masters of the cold. Beneath the surface ice, the remaining daylight completely vanishes, quickly giving way to the pitch-black, terrifying void of the abyssal zone. Here, at extreme depths, where the water pressure is literally crushing and the darkness is absolute, visual hunting becomes biologically impossible.
Yet, the brave seal plummets headfirst down the sheer, vertical rock walls, tucking its hydrodynamic body incredibly tight. Completely blind in the darkness, it relies entirely on its highly sensitive vibrissae, tracking microscopic hydrodynamic wakes in the freezing water. Its ultimate target is one of the most bizarre, fascinating creatures on Earth, the Golomyanka oilfish. Translucent, completely scaleless, and composed largely of rich lipids, it drifts passively in the lightless void. It is an absolute alien of the deep water, a highly specialized, energy-rich prize essential for continued survival through the brutal winter months. Executing a flawless, high-speed biomechanical kinetic transfer, the seal snaps its heavy jaws violently shut on the translucent fish. Securing its prize, it turns its thick, powerful body upwards, beginning the physiologically demanding ascent. By 7 o'clock in the evening, the vast lake is fully enveloped in the unyielding darkness. Under a brilliant, shockingly cold canopy of 1,000,000 stars, the utterly frozen surface of Lake Baikal settles into a profound, majestic, nocturnal silence. Deep below the ice, the ecosystem drifts slowly like a microscopic galaxy, and the colossal, armored sturgeon fades completely into the impenetrable ink-black dark. In this ancient, deeply isolated world, biological life does not merely endure the physical extremes of the planet, it actively conquers them with perfect, awe-inspiring, unyielding precision. The Nerpa seal has conquered the frozen dark of Siberia, but this is just one of Earth's hidden nighttime kingdoms. If you think the abyssal depths of Baikal are alien, you won't believe what awakens at midnight in the flooded, subterranean caves of the Yucatan. Click here to descend into the darkness.